Hello and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Boilermaker Lounge. This week, a little different look. I'm Sam Sprunger instead of Grant Flora, though. He's out running for fun for a national championship at the NAIA level. So I've got our buddy Dustin Schutte from Purdue on SI filling in for Grant this week. Dustin, how are we?
I'm doing great. It seems like we just saw each other.
Yeah, not too long ago. Not too
Yeah.
long ago. Yeah, we're going to talk about the game that we were just did together. Well, we covered together. Coach Painter gets number 500 on Sunday night against the Akron Zips. 97-79, 18 points, and it really honestly didn't seem like it was that close after the initial first 10 minutes that they played.
No, it really wasn't. And we talked about it once Purdue got into a rhythm, and then in the second half, defensively, they just really locked down. They hit a lot of big shots. Trey Kaufman-Renn got into a rhythm in that second half. Oscar Clough couldn't be stopped. He was kind of a monster presence on both the glass and in the post.
Yeah.
And Braden Smith did Braden Smith things. So yeah, it was a runaway that probably could have been a 30 to 35 point win, but then Purdue toned it back a little bit, put in some of the bench guys there late in the game. And I think they knew they had it in hand. So they just kind of relaxed defensively there on those last, couple minutes, 3-4 minutes of the game.
I want to say it was about 6 or 7 minutes left in the game. They had the second five out there that played a good 5 minutes before they decided to bring the end of the bench in to finish up. But yeah, I mean, I looked at the numbers and I noticed it, on Sunday, but I didn't think about it. It didn't register to mention Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn out rebounded Akron.
I didn't put that together until you just said it.
29-26. TKR and Oscar Clough. And we've mentioned it on the post game. We've mentioned it multiple times. I really do think TKR is going to be a lot better rebounder this season than he was last.
Yeah, I think so, because he doesn't have to box out the five anymore. And he talked about that like in June when we talked to him. And Oscar Clough hadn't even arrived on campus yet. But he knew when you have a bigger body who can take up the five spot and you have a body accounted for there, he's probably going to be bigger than most of the fours he plays against. So that's going to allow him to get a lot more rebounds. So, and again, with just like the purpose that he's attacking the glass with, like we talked about on Sunday, it wasn't like those were just falling in his lap. He went out and got them, and especially in the game against Alabama on that Thursday. So yeah, I think he's going to have a higher rebound total, and it's Oscar Clough deserves a lot of that credit because those are secondary rebounds, that maybe he could be getting, but because it's TKR can put a big body on there, they have two guys attacking the glass. It's been fun to watch the last two games on the glass.
Well, and I'm wondering, it may be the fact that TKR sat out 2 games and that he's just really, really ramping it up and really gearing to go. But there were multiple times that he was doing the hustle plays too. Mm-hmm. That he didn't necessarily, not that he didn't try last year. It's just you didn't see him making the hustle plays as many. And I'm talking about like last night or Sunday, he went and was jumping out of bounds after a ball and threw it off of an Akron player, and it went out of bounds and it stayed Purdue's ball. You don't see those plays in the box score, and you've made mention of that multiple times about different players, but even TKR's getting those plays, those hustle plays that don't show up in the box score, but yet are so very valuable for the Boilers.
Well, he also doesn't have to carry as much of a weight this year, and so I think that probably is helpful. He doesn't have to kind of choose how to conserve energy because he doesn't necessarily – they need him on the floor a lot, but they're not relying on him to go out and score 25 points per game and, do a lot of the offensive workload. So there are plays – I don't want to say that he can take off, but he doesn't have to touch the ball every single possession. I mean, he's still going to touch the ball a lot, don't get me wrong. But if there's a play where they need him to take a break when he's on the floor and maybe he's their third or fourth read or their third or fourth option in a specific set, that kind of allows him to rest a little bit while still on the court. So, and then the fact that you can play small ball, or, with Jack Benner, you can come in, or I don't even know if small ball is the right word, because it's not like they've used a small ball lineup. They bring in Daniel Jacobson usually. So you still have, some guys out there that can give you some size and create some problems on the interior. But I think some of it is also that I think you're right. I think it's, being antsy to get back out on the court and play after missing those first 2 games. And then the other thing is he just doesn't have to conserve that level of energy anymore, because there's going to be games when they do need him to go out and get 25, but he doesn't have to do it every night for this team to win.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm going to make a statement. You tell me what your thoughts are. Last year, a big problem with for Purdue was TKR could get into some foul trouble relatively easily and quickly. I think that with the addition of Clough, I think we see him in less foul trouble than we see him last year, simply because he's not fighting with a bigger dude to where he's got to fight for his position. Now, he's still got to make sure he's not doing the illegal screen stuff, because that was one thing that he really struggled with at times last year. But I don't know that you see him get as much foul trouble because he's playing more of an appropriate position.
Well, that, and you can kind of mix up the pick and roll there and include Clough a little bit more. Like every time last year, it was with Trey Kaufman-Renn, right? Anytime they went into the role. And we've seen it a few times where they switch in Clough, or if they want to go bring in Daniel Jacobson and go to a lob, they try to get him involved that way. So he's not the one, doing 95% of those high ball screens and trying to roll. So I think that helps. And then, yes, correct. Like he's not having to battle the 5. And last year, he was kind of the last line of defense. So it was like, if they got by Trey Kaufman-Renn, they have an easy basket. Well, now you've got to either deal with DJ or Clough on the interior. And while Clough is not a great shot blocker, he did have, did he have 3 or 4 in that Alabama game? He had a couple in the Alabama game. I might be overselling it.
I want to say he had at least 2, but he altered shots as well.
Yeah. And so I know Jacobson had 4 the other night. So he doesn't also – it's not the end of the world if he gets beat on some possessions, because he's going to have that rim protection. Now, not all the time, but I think that part of it also makes a difference.
Well, let's talk a little bit right at the beginning of the game. Purdue did show a little bit of a proclivity of letting some shots up at the hoop, a little bit defensive. Is that just Akron's really good, is a good mid-major? They're gonna, find some breakdowns in the defense, I guess. It's not necessarily just a complete and utter breakdown of Purdue's defense. It's Akron's not that bad playing at the rim.
I think 2 things can be true. I don't think Purdue's defense is awful. I just also don't think it's great.
No, it's not.
And
well,
so
I think their offense is going to cure a lot of what ails them on defense.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And so that's why if you can get a couple stops throughout at pivotal points throughout that game, I think this is going to sound maybe counterproductive, but like if you can get a few stops throughout the game at pivotal times, like I talked about this the last couple times, like Jack Benner stepping up, getting some stops in key moments, Daniel Jacobson altering shots, getting some shots blocked. It's almost, if you can do that, you don't have to play great team defense throughout the course of the full 40 minutes. You still want to, and I still think that this team still has the potential to be a better defensive team. But I think where you see I don't know if lack of chemistry is even the right phrase to use here, but just not having a lot of time on the court together with guys like Clough, Meyer, Liam doesn't really play that much, but those 2 guys, I think they still get a little lost. And so there's also still maybe, I don't know. I'd like to ask Matt Painter, and I haven't yet, about just where this team's communication is compared to last year. Cause I still think you see some defensive lapses, guys getting lost in rotations. At sometimes guys taking too much of a risk, trying to reach too much or create a steal, gambling a little too much. So I think it's 50. It's probably more 70-30 or 80-20 that Akron is really good offensively and knew how to attack Purdue and got shots up quick to where Purdue really couldn't rotate, or if they got out of position, they were jacking up a shot. And then the 20% is just Purdue still not great defensively. They can do good things at times. They're just not consistently at that high of a level defensively.
Well, and I honestly think it's very, very doable to say, or very truthful to say, they're better than they were last year. They just don't have the cohesiveness yet. They're working on getting that. That's coming, and I think we've seen that from game 1 till Sunday game 4. Is they've gotten better. Now, granted, you throw an All-American back into the lineup at game 3, you're going to get better considerably. But at the same time, there haven't been as many breakdowns as there were early, especially during the exhibitions, and you had TKR at that point. But I think they're better than they were last year. But right now, they're still working on getting that cohesiveness together to where they can kind of read off of each other a little bit easier. And I don't know that it'll ever be perfect all year because this is their first year together. It's going to be their only year together, so there's going to be some times that maybe there are going to be some minor breakdowns, and it's just maybe limiting those when it happens, at what points in games that happens.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, they got the stops against Alabama when they needed to. That was a tie. That was an 80-80 game with like a minute 15 or minute 30, something like that.
I was going to say 90 seconds maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. It was under 2 minutes. I know that much. And it was a tie ball game. So they came up with some big stops there. Near the end of the first half, they were finally able to get some stops on Akron, force them into some tough shots. I think part of that too was Akron was also rushing a little bit. But Purdue's offense can do that. Like their offense really helps their defense in the sense that, and Matt Painter talks about that a lot too, but in the sense of like, if they're able to get a couple shots and, get up 8 to 10 points, teams are going to try at times. I'm saying a lot of words that I don't know if I even really mean. Like, I don't want to say undisciplined because I think Akron was a disciplined team, but they are going to be rushed to try to, we got to get points in a hurry because we got to create more possessions for ourselves if we want to get back into this game. So I think that's also a big factor in this and I also think that they feed off of their offensive energy. So when they are hitting shots, they play much better defensively. It didn't happen early in that game on Sunday, but at some point when they were knocking down shots, you could just see they were locked in defensively. So the question is going to be, when the shots aren't falling, where's your defense going to be?
Can you still at least play well enough to win? Right.
And they're going to have some games like that where they're going to have to grind it out. As many good shooters as they have on this team, and you'd like to think that, even on a poor shooting night, somebody is going to step up and knock down shots. There's going to be a couple games at least this year where they're going to have to rely on their defense and their rebounding. And that's just one thing we don't know, and we won't know until we see it.
I meant to ask you during the post-game reaction, did you kind of feel like it might be an Oakland-style game that first 10 minutes of that game?
Yeah, that's what I thought before the game even started, because I didn't think it would maybe be as close as the Oakland game, but just in terms of kind of shaking your head and like, we can't get a stop. And the first 10 minutes or so of that game, it was like, this is going to be a lot closer than I think people think. And then they busted open.
They literally, like, every time Purdue would get a basket, it was almost like Akron went right back down and within 10 seconds was hitting a shot that either tied it or gave them the lead back. And it's just like, come on. It was super frustrating because you do know how good this team can be. That's the problem is that mentioned this and bring it up during this show. This game seemed like to me it was a game of different storylines. You had 16 points from Fletcher Loyer in the first half, and then he didn't score the rest of the game. You had Braden Smith, who was 8 and 8 in both halves, had 6 assists in the first half, 4, like, pretty even. And then you have TKR, who rebounded a ton, but he only had 5 points in the first half, ended up with 17. Like, is that going to be the story that we've got a lot of the season in some games, to where different guys are going to take different parts of the game and take over?
I would think so. Yes. And I don't know. I think a majority of it is going to be TKR and Braden. I mean, Fletcher's going to, Fletcher's going to have his moments. I think CJ and Jakari will have their moments. Oscar, Omer is going to have some moments. Jack has already, I don't want to say Jack's already had his moment, but I think we now know that he's going to probably play, best case scenario, 10 minutes. mean, unless TKR gets in foul trouble, he's probably
Right.
not seeing, and probably more likely around that 8 to 9 minute mark.
Yeah.
But he can still do some important things. But yeah, I do think that you're going to see in certain stretches, there are multiple guys who can just take over. And I heard an interesting, I'll give a shout out to Boilers in the Stands, because they were somebody asked a question about having a fourth scorer, and, should Purdue have a reliable guy as a fourth scorer? And the answer was, I mean, basically Oscar Clough is that. He scored at least 9 points in every game. And if you're getting that from your fourth scorer consistently, that's pretty good.
For sure.
So, I mean, I think that there are some games where Oscar Clough might be the most dominant player on the floor, and he gets one entry pass. He's just that good on the glass. And it looked to me like he was, when he got the ball at times, he had a purpose. Like, there have been times specifically in the exhibition games when he caught the ball and it looked like he didn't know what to do with it. Like, he just had it and was either like, do I shoot it? Do I kick it back out? What am I doing in this offense? He just got the ball and just was like, I'm taking it to the rim, and I'm either going to get fouled or I'm going to dunk it. And I think that was a sign of his confidence and his comfortability now. And the fact that he has reached that level in 4 games, I think is a really good sign for Purdue, because they need him to be aggressive in that way. If they're going to get offensive rebounds and get those second chance opportunities, they need to take advantage.
Is that him, the players, or the coaches telling him, look, get your butt, if you've got the ball, shoot it, or get to the hoop, make something happen? Is that him making it click here? Is that the players, or is that the coaches look, we're entering the ball to you, take it to the hoop?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's a smart enough player. Like, he's a really good passer too. So he probably has the ability to make that decision. Like, do I pass it here? But I think if he gets an offensive rebound, it's go back up. Just go back up with it. And you're going to get 90% of the time you're going to get fouled, or you're going to get a bucket out of it. And because he's not going to get a lot of chances off of short rolls or entry passes or whatever the case might be. So, I'm guessing it's a combination of all three. The game, Purdue's offense is probably starting to slow down a little bit for him and getting more comfortable and confident in there. It's probably a little bit of Braden Smith saying, hey, I'm giving you the ball for a reason. I trust you.
Right.
And then, I'm sure that they've had some film sessions with Matt Painter where he's saying, you see, you got the ball right here. Just go to work.
All you have to do is spin move or drop step, and boom, you're right at the hoop, and you're 6'11", or 6'10". Is he 6'10" or
6'11"?
See, you're 6'11".
That's what
you're going to be very comparable to most people you're guarding against. That's what he's listed at. Is that what you're going to say? Well, Braden Smith's listed as 6 foot.
6
too.
foot, exactly.
I don't agree with that. I'm not 6 foot. I've stood beside the man, and I'm taller than him. Not by a lot,
but enough.
But enough to know he's not 6 foot. Let's sidestep just a little bit before we move to the Baha Mar here and a couple of other topics. Omer Meyer, he had a game last night, or Sunday night, that just was it showed glimpses of what Purdue's going to have as a point guard after Braden Smith. That year one after Braden, and honestly, Dustin, this is it's pretty exciting to know what we've got potentially just in the glimpses that we've seen. He's not constant yet. He's still a freshman though too.
Yeah, he's going to make some of those mistakes, and but I think that was a really good sign. He can get to the pull up, he can knock down, catch and shoot threes. Made some really good decisions, made some really good passes, made some errant passes, tried to maybe do too much or get a little too cute there. And you can do that in a 25-point game against Akron. I would be curious to know if he tries to do the same thing, if they get into a dogfight with Texas Tech or Iowa State or something, if he has that much belief in himself, if that's part of his game, or if that was him just trying to, show
entertain the crowd.
Well, yeah, just trying to test some things is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Is he trying to test some things like, hey, can I do this? And that's what kind of got Braden Smith to where he is right now, right? So I think that Painter's going to allow him to play his game, have fun with it, but at the same time, pull him to the side and say, hey, we need you to make the smart play, I trust you, but that wasn't there, or
know the place and the time, son.
No, yeah. I think those might be some conversations they have, but I mean, like he gives them a couple minutes with when Braden's not on the floor where there really isn't much of a drop off. He gives them another shooter that teams have to worry about. This question was posed in my brain and on one of the stories I wrote after the game was, is there going to be a time when Omar Meyer is the third, maybe replaces CJ Cox as a starter? And I feel like he can still get the minutes off the bench and provide scoring to Purdue because they've got enough scoring in their starting lineup.
Right.
You want somebody who, when Fletch goes to the bench, when CJ goes to the bench, if TK goes to the bench, somebody on that guard spot who can get you points or who can make the passes to DJ, TKR, Clough, whoever it might be, and he can do that. So I don't know that if I'm a fan, I don't know that I want him in the starting lineup, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in I like the punch that he brings off the bench. And again, it was similar to 23-24. TKR was the starter, provided them some good minutes, but Mason Gillis got a bulk of that time on the court because of the way Purdue needed him to operate. And I wonder if that's going to be the same thing with Omer.
Well, and honestly, you are the reason why I am think that way as well now, because I was almost convinced that if he progressed, he would supersede that third starter at the guard and be the starter. But you're absolutely right. It's great if you can score. Every one of your starters can score, but if your next five can only put up this many points instead of this many points, you're taking a hit, and I think you're right. He can get starter minutes by being the sixth man, or whatever part of the rotation. But he can play the 2, the 3, the 1. Like he can play all three of those guard positions, which gives him plenty of possibility to have some minutes and really get to know. What better way for next year's point guard to know those other positions as well? Yes, he's going to get minutes at point guard because we're going to have the luxury of being able to sub him out a little bit more this year to give him some rest. That's great. But at the same time, what better way to learn than playing with the guy that's running the show in a different position and then going, okay, I need to do that way next year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great learning experience. You get thrown into the fire, right? Yeah. And he hasn't seemed and I think it's weird. Like he had a breakout game on Sunday, but it's not as if he played poorly. I think he didn't play well in the game against Oakland, but This is what you saw. He got 23 minutes on Sunday against Akron. That was the most time he'd been on the floor in one game. And I think you saw what he can do when he's granted those minutes. And that's not to say he's going to get it all the time, because there's going to be nights, I think, where Purdue's going to need CJ Cox and Jakari Harris to be defensive minded. And I think they are probably the better defensive players on the team. So there's going to be nights where maybe Omer does only play 10 to 12 minutes, but there's also going to be nights where he plays, 20 to maybe he does play 25, just kind of depending on how the game goes and how he's performing.
Well, Jakari, he's another one. Everybody watching or listening knows how I feel about Jakari Harris, because I think he's a real special player. And I tell you what, the couple of glimpses last night or Sunday night was just an absolutely amazing. Like, he showed his athleticism, and I think he just needs to be a little bit more consistent. But let's jump to the Baha Mar. So Thursday, 6 p.m. from the Bahamas, Purdue takes on the Memphis Tigers, the number 1 ranked Purdue Boilermakers, Dustin. I'm not shocked, because the fact that they did beat Alabama, that was enough to convince even the guy that had them ranked 9th in the poll to move them up, I guess. But the Boilermakers are number 1 in the country. They take on Memphis, and I did not do any homework as to figure it out, but I heard that there's not one returner to this Memphis roster from last year.
Yeah, I didn't do my homework on that either. I just know that Memphis is not very good.
No, they're not. And
And I believe
we were anticipating them to be okay at least.
Well, Memphis used to be a pretty solid they've had some good coaches there. They've had a lot of really good players throughout. So they've always been kind of a consistent program and one that you've had to worry about when they're on your calendar. But I don't know that this is one of those. Now, they do have some size. I think they've got 2 7-footers on the roster and then maybe they got another guy who's like right at there, 6'10" or 6'11". But that might
A-Rop is 6'11".
Okay, so they've got 3 guys in about that 7-foot category.
And another 6'11". Wow, they have 2 7-footers and 2 6'11s.
Okay, well, there we go. So they do have some size. I don't know how much they utilize it, but this is a team that they beat San Francisco by 6 points. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to UNLV. They don't shoot the ball well. They are shooting like around 42% from the floor this season, and they're averaging 13 turnovers per game. And I know Purdue doesn't force a lot of turnovers, but if you are going to play, like, you can't give Purdue extra possessions.
Right.
And I have a feeling that's probably something that's going to happen in this game. I think, we can talk about it a little bit more. I have not, since the quick turnaround, I have not been able to do a deep dive on Memphis or watch how they play or anything. But I
did see they have Doug McDaniel. Didn't he play at Michigan 2 years ago?
He did play at Michigan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know. And Anthony Hardaway's their coach.
Right. Well, I mean, and I believe this was accurate as of the other day. They were 1 spot behind Akron in the Ken Palm. Okay. I don't know if that's still accurate or not, because that changes it might even change by the hour. I don't look at it. I look at it, 2 or 3 times a week, because that gives you a pretty good idea. But I mean,
ranked 5th in the Ken Palm right now.
I know, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think
Akron is 80th. Sorry, keep going. I'll find it and I'll.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Perfect. And this is also a team that doesn't rebound particularly well despite their size. So I think Purdue has an advantage really in every category. I mean, they shoot 32% from 3-point range. Again, their turnovers are 13. They have forced a lot of turnovers. They're averaging about 10 steals per game. So Purdue's guards are going to have to take care of the basketball. They're going to have to kind of fight off that feistiness from Memphis. But in terms, just like everything you look around on paper, Purdue's got the upper hand, the advantage. And I said this on Sunday, like, I still think this is a game where Purdue just focuses on what it needs to do and focus on itself. And it is, if you take care of the ball and if you rebound the ball well, as you should, we're going to put ourselves in a great position to win this game. And like, I don't think this one's going to be close. I had some thoughts that the Akron game would be close. I don't think this one's going to be close at all. The only reason it might be is because of the travel plans and playing on a neutral court and, maybe body clock. I don't know, but that would be my only thought. I don't know that Memphis has the scoring, has the rebounding to keep this thing close. Maybe they've got the defense a little bit, but that's about it.
Well, if they've got a little bit of defense, they need a lot more, because the potential of offense that Purdue has, that's the big thing there for them, is if they've got a little bit, they can hang their hat on playing a little bit of defense, but they've got to score more. Some teams are defensive teams that just score enough. Some teams are, we need just enough defense to be able to win games. And then some are like, okay, we need defense, but we got to be able. If they've got just a little bit of defense, Memphis is in trouble, because Purdue's got a lot of offense. It just is. To me, I'm in that school of thought that your shooters, not all of your shooters are going to be going cold during the game. There's going to be somebody that's going to have a hot hand, but Memphis is 77th in the Ken Palm now.
So I think before the game they were 70. I know Akron was 77th before the game, and I think Memphis was 78. So after the Purdue loss, Akron probably dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, obviously they did.
Right. Especially if you said they were 77th. Now they're 80th, but they're still top 80. after that, I mean, working on them, you know, what is there? What do you envision? Like you say, you don't even see. You're not worried. Like with Akron, there was a little bit of concern in certain aspects, but what is it? What do you see Purdue working on, and what are these keys that they work on in against Memphis? Then, if there's no worry that Memphis might bite them.
Well, I mean, I think I think Purdue has to focus on the defensive end and not. I think sometimes missed shots covers up what good and bad defense looks like. Like you could have a team that has a terrible shooting night and maybe they shoot 35%, but they get a bunch of wide open looks to shots that aren't falling. Well, if they score, 65 points and you hold them to 30% shooting, everybody's going to say, wow, really good defensive effort. And then you watch the game and like, wow, they had 20 open looks that they just botched. And so I think, to me, that's what I like. This is not a good shooting team. So I guess any team on any given day can catch fire. So you have to be cautious of that. But I'd like to see Purdue. I think even in that Evansville game at times, they just missed a bunch of open shots. It wasn't that Purdue's defense was stifling. They just missed some open looks and they forced the three ball, which they weren't particularly good at shooting. So I want to see Purdue force Memphis to shoot the ball over you. If they're going to make tough shots, they'll make tough shots, but don't get lost in some of those rotations like you did against Akron. That to me, protect the paint. Purdue they did okay against it protecting the paint against Evansville. They were horrid against Oakland.
Yeah.
Part of those things are due to the rebounding, obviously.
And they didn't need to worry about the paint against Alabama.
No, that was fourth concern in that game. So I think, just continue to focus on the paint and playing good, sound defense. That to me is the biggest key here. And that's something you want to continue to work on. I don't think Purdue I'm with you. Like Purdue has too many weapons to where if one guy's not feeling it, if the three ball's not falling, they can go inside and they can pound it to TKR. I think they now feel comfortable that they can get the ball to Clough. They can hit Jacobson on some lobs. To kind of get their offense going and counter that. It's just a matter of, can you play good sound defense and not get caught up in, Memphis is just missing shots.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing is there's not a ton of concern. And I'm not saying that like you said, Memphis can't catch fire or beat Purdue. It's with the, we look at things and just go, okay, this is the way it should pan out. Purdue should win this game relatively easily. Should.
Right.
So yeah, work on it. Work on things that will make you better and ready for the next game against either Wake Forest or Texas Tech. And 6:00 on Thursday, the Boilermakers, #1 in the country, Baha Mar Championship, Memphis Tigers, CBS Sportsnet. Is that what it is? CBSSN. Okay, yeah, CBS. Right now, ESPN has a 82.2% chance that Purdue wins that ball game, but I will still contest that they also said Alabama had a 64% chance to win.
Yeah, so you don't look too much into that. Here's the other thing. Memphis has played one less game, so I'll give a little bit of leeway here. They don't have a player on the roster that has more than 17 rebounds
total
in 3 games. Correct. So, like Clough and TK, that's a game to them.
That has been TKR is too short of that.
Yeah.
Sunday.
They have 4 guys who have double-digit rebound totals this season. So this is why I say it could get ugly, because in every regard, Purdue has the upper hand. Now, again, maybe Memphis can get some pressure on the ball. Maybe they can turn over Purdue, catch them sleeping early in the game. But I think that the Boilers are going to, eventually it's just talent and the rebounding advantage and all that stuff should prevail and give Purdue a comfortable win. And I have to mention this too, because this was wild to me. And I did not know this, didn't think to look it up. So did you see the clip of Matt Painter in the locker room after the game?
Getting doused with water?
Yes.
Yes.
So he stopped mid-sentence after he got doused. Fletcher said, "Congrats on 500." And then did you catch what he said in response?
I did not.
Okay. He said, "Thanks for And I thought, was he about to say 20% of them? And then I looked it up. I did the math, and it is almost accurate. He has 500 career wins. Those 3, I did the math earlier today. Let me see if I still have it saved on my calculator because I typed it in. They're responsible for 91 of them. So it's not quite 20%. But
maybe that's why he stopped.
I've been there. Well, he was getting doused with water.
That's true.
So to think, that's crazy to me. 22 years, and they account for, 22 total years coaching, and that this group of seniors accounts for 20% of his, almost
roughly thereabouts.
20% of his. That's just insane to me.
Well,
and it's going to be, it may actually be 20. I'd have to do the math on like the season, but it may be right at 20% by the time the end.
Yeah, by the time, especially with 40-0, I mean, that will be a lot of W's that they're adding in one season. So
that's 36 more W's, Sam.
Hey, I will take it. No.
There you go.
You know what? As long as they get the most important 6 in March/April, I'm not going to be concerned too much about. Don't get me wrong. I want them to win every single one, and I'm going to until they lose, say 40-0 every single time, because you know what? You never get credit, or you get credit for making bold predictions, but you never get blamed for not making taking a wild stance and being wrong on it. Nobody cares. So
right. I'm with you. I'll ride with you.
Well, that brings us to the end of this Tuesday's Boilermaker Lounge. We will come back on Friday with a reaction to hopefully a huge Purdue win and a matchup against either Wake Forest or Texas Tech. Honestly, if I have as a betting man, which I am not by any means, I would say it's probably going to be the Red Raiders. But Wake Forest did play with Michigan pretty well, so don't look past the Demon Deacons as impossible to beat Texas Tech. But honestly, I haven't looked at any of that breakdown type thing, so I don't. I just am going to assume Texas Tech is pretty darn good. They're a top 10 program for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to be the ones that the Boilers will play, assuming that Purdue wins on Thursday. But Dustin, thanks for filling in for Grant. You'll be in on Friday, filling in for Grant, finishing up. I believe he runs on Friday morning, so he is in Florida right now, getting ready for the NAIA National Championships for cross country, and there's a good chance that Indiana Wesleyan might be the national champions, so he might come back with a ring.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Run, Grant, run.
Because this guy doesn't.
Sub out Forrest for Grant. There we
That's
go.
Right. Run, Grant, run. So, well, thanks again, Dustin. I appreciate it. And thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in for this episode of Boilermaker Lounge. We'll be back on Friday, and we'll see you then.